rewarded the best community service in diversity and indigenous knowledge of medicinal plant Nakon Sitamarat, Walailak University in 2022. So basically, a very very rough background introduction for Prof. Chris. So Prof. Chris, without further ado, so we can start the session and the floor is all yours. Yeah, please.
Okay. Thank you very much. Zaity, right?
Yeah, Zaity, I'm Zaity.
Correct, right? Okay. Right. Thank you so much for inviting me to being known by you guys in Malaysia, right? And it's I'm sorry for the time because you are 1 hour ahead, right?
Yeah.
What time do you normally have lunch?
Actually, we have lunch at 1 p.m. It's okay.
Oh, 1 p.m. Okay, that's
Yeah.
good. That's okay. I'm relieved from my my scene. Okay, right. Okay. We have lunch at noon. Okay, so
Oh, okay.
so we have different. It's actually the same time, right?
Yeah, the same time, but you are
The
in
same
12
time, but
noon.
different time, right? So it's
Yeah.
kind of confusing. We are in the global world, right? So, right. I think I would like to start sharing my screen. Okay, I think it's coming up, right?
Yeah, coming up. Okay, I can see the slide.
Okay, because you guys are mostly in remote sensing area. Am I correct?
Basically, there are in environmental engineering and civil engineering student, but currently
Okay,
taking the subject, remote sensing subject.
right. So I don't know how many of you guys actually have interest in coral reef. Can I see hand ups in the Google Meet? Okay, 3%. Right. Okay, not so bad. Okay. Anyway, okay. So the talk would actually more like, and I want to share my experience doing research in coral reef. Okay, and I use various technologies to help study, to help monitor uh, the health of the coral reef. Okay, and first thing first, I think I look at the. Okay, I think I lost it. So can okay, I'm confused. Okay, so many screen on my computer. So right.
No worry, Prof. Take your time.
Okay. I'm checking the coral. I know that Malaysia also have very beautiful coral reef, right? Malaysia, right? And what I want to know is, you notice any breaches in the coral reef in Malaysia recently?
Recently, I have done the project in Langkawi. So basically, they are replanting what we call it the habitat for the coral to to get more what we call it to get more replant the habitat for coral in Langkawi. I
Okay.
think
Oh, so you're doing some sort of restoration? Is that what
yeah
you are saying? Okay. In Langkawi, right?
yeah in Langkawi.
Okay,
Uh,
very interesting. Right. So yeah, and you notice any breaching this year or not yet?
Not yet because we don't have the technology, the sensor that Walailak have in the university that you already showed me last time.
Oh, right. But
that new.
not locally. I mean, do you have any diver to go dive and check the reef health?
I don't think. I think maybe we have, but we don't have a very, what we call it, very quite schedule diving and check the coral reef. But we
Okay. Right. So you don't do that on a timely schedule. Okay, something like that. Right.
yeah.
Okay. So yeah, today mostly I'm going to share some of our experience in using remote sensing technology in coral reef kind of uh, research. Okay, and I have put the link for the Google Sheet that I would like everybody to try to fill in your information so that I know where you're from and what your interests are. Okay, the link is in the chat box. If Zaity, you could you check that one?
Yeah, I already checked that Google, and then I fill in the form.
Okay, and I have a raised hand by Karim Binti, right?
Syazwani, yes. Why you
Yeah,
recommend
you have a
Syazwani?
question or anything to add or comments? I would like our session to be more like interactive. In Walailak University, we do active learning. We don't normally just talk and talk, by the lecturer. So if you have anything to add or comment, please feel free to do that in the chat box or raise hand so that we can hear your opinion or ideas. Okay, I love hearing many more, many ideas. So yeah, it's very good to know that you're actually doing some replanting or restoration of the reef because I think the reef actually need our help. Okay, otherwise it will be in great danger. Okay, so right, and first thing first, this is the topics of the talk for today, right? I hope that we can cover all of this, but otherwise we can skip through some of the redundancy that is in the slides. Okay. First of all, I would like to introduce our university, and doing that, I would like to change my share screen to another window, which is this one. The disruption in the remote sensing visualization access as well. Uh, everybody know this, right? It's Google Earth, okay? And from here, you can actually see our beautiful CPU. This is the central CPU of the university. Okay, this is our university, and we are in the Tasala. This is Tasala area, and if we zoom out more, okay, you will see the Gulf of Thailand. So we are on this side. We are on the Gulf of Thailand side, okay? And the famous island that I think you guys should know is Koh Samui, okay? And this is one of our study site. We work with a hotel in the north area, somewhere around here, okay? And the reef that we actually doing some restoration and this activity is on this one. Okay, it's really a shallow reef. Okay, that's the Samui Island. I think you should know this. And the famous full moon party, okay, is here in Got Pangan. Okay, I have done. I've got some grant to survey the coral reef around this island, and we published a manual or a handbook for tourists so that you can actually go and check the beautiful coral reef around this island instead of just going there for the full moon party. Okay, you can actually do, some more like coral reef or diving. And the most famous diving site for study to get your PADI certified is actually Koh Tao right here. Okay, Koh Tao is quite distinct from other area because it's quite like deep in the deeper ocean in the Gulf of Thailand. So the water there is less murky and very, the sides are very, very beautiful. And there are a lot of the diving activity on this island, including some restoration by the diving school, I think, and they make a very good community. And there are a number of volunteers going to this island to do the restoration activities. Another one that I'm gonna talk more right on. This is the island. It's actually, this is Phuket. I'm sure that most of you know Phuket Island. Okay, so because of doing this project, discovery project, I'm actually going to this island quite often. And the island that we actually are working on is Lachaya Island. So this is the location of the island. This is where we put our sensor network. Okay, prototype actually is the prototype right here on this island. On this bay, we call Patok Bay. Actually, right here. Actually, is right here. And the reef are actually about 10, not 10, maybe like 12 to 18 or 19, depends on the tide. Okay, another one is on the south side of this island, Conca Bay. Okay, this is also where we work with the hotel and the resort here. They provide us an office so that we can go there and spend like a week, on this island and checking the reef and study and install our instruments. Right. That basically introduce you about where we actually talking about in Thailand. I would love to hear also where you actually have your coral reef planting in Langkawi, but maybe later on. Okay. Right.
Yeah, okay, Prof. But may I know how many sensors that you put in the island of your study area, and then one sensor can cover how much the area, how large the area?
You mean coverage area? Okay.
Yeah, the coverage area.
Right. I think the detail of this installation I will show you later. Okay. It's actually, let me stop presenting here. And another presentation. This one. Okay. And the abstract, I think you already know this. Okay. At the our Center of Excellence, we named it Ecoinformatics. We have great difficulties in translating this word in Thai. I don't know how many of you actually know this word, but it's actually the two concepts combined together, ecology or ecosystem and informatics. So basically, we think that this is a kind of emerging field of study that move on with the advancements in the in the informatics or information technology. So the more advanced in the technology on the informatics, we will actually also advance in the study of ecosystem or ecology, and that's what we actually do. So the the ecosystems that we are actually working uh, includes coral reef. Okay, that's the main goal for this talk, for this discussion for today. We also right now actually we also working on the mangrove ecosystem and the seagrass beds. Okay, in the past we actually work on the cloud forest, visit the mountain near university, and then the definition of the cloud forest is actually uh, the tip of the mountain that high enough so that the ecosystem on the tips of the mountain actually covered by cloud, most of the time of the year, and that actually create a very special ecosystem. And when we had that project, we actually try to monitor the climate change effects on that ecosystem. I'm sure that in Malaysia you have a lot of these cloud forests, and if you have them monitor, you would discover that there are less and less cloud or fog, you know, in the period of climate change. Okay, and in the application of this information that we call ecoinformatics, we actually develop a concept of high value tourism. Okay, and as you all know that the advancement right now in information technology or informatics is actually AI and data science. So we actually move into these categories naturally, okay, naturally, because it's basically the thing that we do, okay. And we got some project for the tourist boat safety by introducing IoT, okay, Internet of Things. It's quite surprise for us actually when we start this project that the concept of IoT, or Internet of Things, actually go beyond land. Okay, it's go beyond land. It actually work in the sea. Okay, so we can actually put IoT devices on the boat and we can track them. Okay, and that's what we actually discover with this IoT technology. Concept of this IoT technology actually you have narrow band, and the internet signal actually go further, right? And by surprise or by accident, it actually can reach in the sea. Okay, so that actually being the concept of anyone can do, you know, coral reef monitoring with this technology. Okay, that's the thing that we actually explore and do. Okay, and also in application of the ecoinformatics, we can do smart farming, AI smart farming actually as well, and the advancement of drone. Okay, we also use them at remote sensing that much more widely available right now on the internet. Everyone can gather data and get them. Also, we work with bioinformatics in Taiwan, and they actually use sound to record or to monitor the ecosystem that we call soundscapes. Okay, and we can also do this underwater too. Okay, because when I dive in very diverse reef, I actually can hear. You know, when I dive, I can actually hear a lot of snapping all over the time. That means that if you dive in the very diverse, biodiverse area, there are a number of creatures or small, you know, animals that actually networking inside the reef. Okay, and they talk to each other by sound. Okay, some of the sound you cannot hear, like the dugong sound. Okay, you need to have higher microphone. We call hydrophone. Okay, if used underwater. So I think that's the new idea or the new concept of ecosystem monitoring that we actually try to explore them, but the equipment are quite expensive. So we try to get some grant, but they're not approved yet. Okay. We also do the GLOW program. This is the program that created by the ex Vice President Al Gore, okay, who initiated the movement of the climate, crisis and climate change regime. Okay, and the program actually asks students, okay, and community to actually monitor their, their environment and share the data together. Okay, and it is this program that initiate us to do coral reef watch on the island, on the Russia island. Okay, and because we are now actually moved away or moved past the era of climate change awareness, but we actually moved to that. Everybody agree, okay, and the next move we have to do, right, the carbon credits, okay, and we actually doing some study on the calculation or the way community can calculate their carbon credits. And we start with the mangrove area. I think we have already some protocol for fruit plantation. Okay, that easy. But mangrove have much more challenging, question to do. Okay, and our study side, as I actually have you a little bit of a Google Earth tour. We have Phuket, we have Krabi, Trang Stun, okay, Samui, Phangan, and Nakhon Si Thammarat, and also Surat Thani. Surat Thani actually is a province a little bit northern direction to Nakhon Si Thammarat. Okay, let's go to the next slide. Not this one. Okay. And the concern for the coral reef, this is just a brief summary of the thing that Ecoinformatics are actually interested. Okay. The first one would be on the coral bleaching. And the cause, many people believe is related to the temperature of the ocean, of the sea. Okay. And another problem that we found is actually about the land use loads on the coral reef. On the picture is actually the bottom of the coral reef area that we actually have our study is on Samui Island. In some of the area on the reef, they actually, mud, which is very bad for coral reef because this mud can, cover the coral reef, the coral, and the coral will die. Okay, and there are lots of these sediment load actually present in the coral reef area of the Samui Island. Okay, and I'm trying to get the people to pay more attention on this and reduce the and somehow the situation is actually getting better by itself because the sand dunes actually accumulated all on all the opening river mouth of the island. It's kind of blocking all the sediment. And the reason for that is actually because people are trying to get their water from the sources. So there is no longer water on the canal or any river on the island any longer, because they actually have pipe, sucking all the water, then don't have the time to reach the river. And then because you don't have the outflow, right? So the sand actually accumulate in the river mouth, so they all cross. The problem is that when you have heavy rain, which is quite normal now in the era of climate change, okay, you have heavy rain quite often, and that will actually create flooding. So all these sediment, they're not going out from the river mouth anymore. They're actually coming out everywhere on the island because of this flooding. Okay, that's probably harder to control, but it's kind of distributed. All these sediment around the island, okay, instead of just going through one reef, specifically. So they have different problem to solve right now, right? Okay, and another one is the shoreline aquaculture. Okay, so you have chemical fertilization and many more. Okay, and that from the area that we are actually working on, like the on Suratani, there are lots of oyster farming. Okay, and some of them use fertilization. Okay, so that create another problem as well, but not serious, comparing to the land use load problem. Okay, and all these actually we hope that we can use remote sensing to monitor the changes and but because this is quite in the global scale. Okay, the other problem is the alien species. We found a lot of alien algae, macroalgae, spreading out in Samui Island, and that is very, very bad because they are very quick to occupy, the area that actually have coral. So they can root themselves on top of the coral and grow. So, when they grow so large, they can block the sun energy to get into the Susantali, so that the coral can grow. And eventually they die because of this, occupation of the area. And it's actually quite serious. So we have a guideline for hotel to help removing all these alien species. Some of them we can eat, human can eat, but most of them fishes and local species, animals, they cannot, consume all these alien algae. It's very, very, very serious concern right now. I'm not so sure in Malaysia, you notice any of this problem?
Monitoring the
Macro algae, yeah.
Sorry, Prof.
Macro algae? Should I show you the image?
Yes, you can show.
Okay, let me try. These are usually beautiful, okay, algae. But the one that we found on the island, they're not this beautiful. So when the coral reef, die because of coral bleaching or whatever, these macroalgae will start taking, occupying the area. And then you change from, coral reef land cover into the macroalgae land cover. It's very, very, very bad. And they actually grow very fast because of the nutrient in the water is so much, from the land use of the people, of the community. Okay, this is some of the, so they actually cover the coral area and become, less beautiful, and you lost the reef eventually. Okay, that's the concept, and also the tourism. Okay, and we have some study show that most of the coral can recover after the COVID, broke on for the past 2-3 years, but they're actually coming back now on the tourists. So I'm not so sure that the situation will get worse. I'm definitely sure that it's going to get worse because of the tourism load on all these, coral reef. Some of the area they have adapt so that they can protect, like for example on the PP Island or this Similan. I think they start blocking excessive tourists. Okay, tourism. So I hope that this will help. So from these concerns, we actually want to monitor the. I think this will answer some of your questions, Zaity, right? What kind of
Yeah.
sense, yeah, that we need to do.
Basically, in Malaysia, I don't think we have restricted the area for swimming or because in PP Island, I think in Maya Bay, you cannot swim in the ocean, right, to preserve the coral. But I don't think in Malaysia we have that law and regulation to prevent the area from swimming or any
Diving,
distraction. Yeah, and diving. But we also
yeah,
have
diving.
we also have gazetted the marine park. So we control the area, but we are not restricted. But I think it's good to restrict sometimes to replenish the coral reef.
Right. Okay. I think that for Maya Bay on the PP Island, on the area, something like that, it actually marine protected area as well. But in the past, they cannot control the access tourism. So even though and the thing that tourists do to damage the coral is very little thing like your sunblock, for example. Everybody when they go outside, doing the sea tour, they actually put on the sunblock, right? And this sunblock actually left behind when they dip themselves in the water. Okay, everybody contribute a little bit of this, not big chunk, but because of all the tourists actually use this sunblock, and for one day the area might receive thousand of tourists. Okay, so it's accumulated there and it's getting worse because all these lotion actually the pollution kind of thing, and they cover the coral, and the coral are actually weaker and weaker and die eventually. So this is kind of very little thing. And also another one is when the diver they kick their fin, they disturb the sedimentation around the coral, and all these come up and cover the coral, and the coral become weaker and die as well. So some of these might be okay, but too much of this is bad. That's the idea. So yeah, I think people are realizing this already, and they start but the thing that we cannot control, or maybe we can control in the near future, is the sea surface temperature or the sea temperature. Okay, that's the thing that we have not the hypothesis. Actually, we have a publication confirm that when the sea temperature is high enough, okay, the coral will lose the zooxanthellae. Okay, and the thing that remote sensing like satellite can do is only from the sea surface. Okay, they cannot measure the temperature at like 20 meter or 10 meter. And we actually have studied the correlation of this, and going to show you later how much you can actually rely on the sea surface temperature data from the satellite. Another one that people concern also the fact that we have more acidic sea because of the sea actually absorb many most on a lot of carbon dioxide, so its pH will become higher, and then the kind of the calcinous process will be kind of disrupted because of the acidity of the water. It's not preferable for the pH actually not going high. I'm sorry, it's actually going down. Okay, it's more acidic. It's not basic. It's more acidic. So it's actually coming down because of the carbon dioxide. Okay. The other one that we actually have to measure is the pressure. And when we measure the pressure at the coral reef, we actually measure the depth and tide as well. Okay. I'm going to show you later some of the real data that we have. And of course, the biological data are very important. And so far, we don't have, the automatic data gathering, but we have some like EcoCam. Okay, we have actually put EcoCam, a camera inside the coral reef underwater, 10 meter, okay, or 5 meter, and monitor their health. And actually, that was something that we actually have learned and to do it correctly. Okay, with our colleagues in Australia, they actually have an advanced camera that the screen has an automatic wiper. When you put things inside the sea for a very long time, 2 days, then all the living thing in the sea will start growing on you, right? For example, the camera, the sensor. Okay, in the quick time, it's all will be covered by everything, and you cannot actually see the through the EcoCam anymore. So Australian people actually have advanced camera that they have screen brusher to clean it, to clean the camera so that they can actually see, okay, measure what they want to measure. And and in our case, we actually use help from the tourist diver. They actually help us to clean our screen, from time to time. I think I saw one of the hand raised, right? You have any question or is hit by accident?
I think mistakenly hit.
Okay. Another technology that we actually used and we want to use as well is drone, okay, for the mapping. And the advantage of the technology allow us to do it instead of just have to use the aerial, which costs a lot. Use drone mapping is very, economic. And the first case is the coral sensor network. Okay, before people have this sensor network, they have to go conventional ways. They plant, for example, data locker. The one that we use is called the Hobo. Okay, it's about, I think it's about $50 each. So it's small package, and then you tie it with some weight, and then you put it in the coral reef area. Okay, they will lock the temperature, and some model have light, so they can measure light as well. They have like I don't know how to call it, the light sensor. Okay, and of course it's not very accurate because the wave will move the the sensor around. Okay, so they're not strictly planted like this to measure the light from the top, so they're like swinging around. And all the data store in that data locker. Okay, so actually I have done this. So we have to go to find the sensor. Sometimes it take 1 hour to find it. Sometimes it's quick because it's not moving around. In some cases, we have our sensor like covered by all the sand from the maybe storms and in that area. Okay, so it takes some time, and sometimes we lost them because we cannot find them, or sometimes the cable is kind of broken, so it's dipped away and we cannot find it. So that means it also means we lost the data. Okay, so it's not real time. Okay, but the technique is quite interesting. You have to have like optical reader to plug in this Hobo sensor, and then they read the data by light. Okay, they're talking to the sensor by lighting, and then they take the data into that, and you plug it in a computer to download the data. So it takes some time, and it's not real time. It's not monitoring. It's actually kind of conventional way, but it's not expensive. It can be done. Okay. If you're not in a stormy area, you can actually have this one. to and you can like pull it up from the sea and then read the data and you put it back. That's also very easy, very neat to do. In Thailand, in the national park, they actually ask the officer at the station to dive to be able to actually you just get the temperature of the coral reef, and it's not convenient. They actually use dive computer to read the temperature. Actually, if they have this oboe, they just roll it down to a specific depth and then they leave it like 5 minutes. We have protocol. Then you can pull it up and that's the data and read it. Easier because when people go dive, at very deep and they have to use oxygen, they have to do surface interval, kind of thing, and it's risky as well. Okay, so NOAA, you guys should know NOAA, right? It's for ocean. Is have the monitoring solution, but it's quite expensive, of course, because they have to use satellite. And NOAA use satellite technology to monitor the temperature. But as I said earlier, it can only measure the temperature at the surface of the ocean. They cannot actually measure the temperature at the reef, actually, So people come up, in the APAN, Asia Pacific Advanced Network, that I join them. So they have some prototype to try out, and that actually originate and then it's become in the time right now here is called IoT. Okay, so we work with Taiwan partner, US, UC, I think Santa Barbara, okay, and the Australia Ames, okay, and we have prototype that we call the coral sensor network, and this data actually available real time. Okay, these are the some of the layout that we actually use. I think this should answer Zaity question, right?
Yeah, Prof. You answer my question. Thank you.
Yeah. So in the this is the old system and it's cost a lot actually. And this sensor we call CTD. I think right? In environmental monitoring, this is the best one in the industry. It's from Seabird. Okay, and each unit costs 500,000 baht. Okay, it's quite a lot. And we are at the first stage. We actually very lucky that the Australian partner, they actually donate two of these to us, and they also let two of their staff to come to Rajaya Island to help us install this first unit, these two first unit. Okay, so we went to the island and we went to install all this, and the prototype actually works, and we can actually share the data on the internet. So the the CTD, these are the sensor, they actually wire, and then they talk to us on the island using the EM wave. They're not using the electrical signal. They're using the EM wave, the electromagnetic wave. Okay, so we have magnetic coil, and we have induction modem, then connect to the CR1000. This is the data logger, which is quite expensive. I think it was 100,000 baht at that time. Right now, we can replace this unit by, I think Nectech have produced us some prototype that can replace this one, but they cannot make this CTD sensor. These are very advanced technology. We cannot do. Okay, there are certain problem in reverse engineering this sensor, and the sensor that Netflix made only lasts like 5 minutes in the sea. Okay, so it's not possible to do that anyway, right? And this one is connected to a LAN, a local area network, and then you can connect this to a computer, okay, that can retrieve and restore all the data and then send it to the cloud. Okay, once on the cloud, you can have many, data server. At that time, we use data turbine that can combine many sources of data together. Okay, and then display like kind of monitoring. But we actually create our own, tribal server and our own solution. So we have the monitoring screen to check all this information from the coral reef. We also put the weather station on the island because we found that the wind and the air temperature and the rain actually have effect on the health of the coral reef. So we collect this data as well, and then we have the solution to get this data on the cloud too. So we can combine multi sources of the information to better make a good assessment of the information. And below here are the IP camera that we test and use in the area. And the longest interval time that we have put this camera is about 6 months. Okay. Usually, if you buy commercial underwater, for use in the ocean, it will cost 100,000 baht. Okay, it's quite expensive. So we kind of develop our own IP camera system and we combine this data. On the right hand side is much more like a data management. Okay, so we have the server to compute, to visualize, and to give alert message if they think that something strange going on. And we have this data to show. So okay, this is the concept of the system overview. Okay, and this is the island, as I already shown you at the beginning, that we have study site here. Okay, on Patok Bay on the west side and the south side here. On the south side, we have installed the EcoCam to test it, but we did not install on this side because of the we haven't actually come with the agreement with the resource to lend us the space to to install the video system. But we have weather station here and here, okay, and the CTD right here. The CTD sensor can actually measure conductivity, okay, and then that can convert into salinity, okay, and I think I forgot to put salinity in the first two slides. Okay, salinity also very important for coral bleaching. If the water get to saline or get to less saline, it will bleach as well. And then the temperature is the most important, and also the depth. Okay, CTD D is for the depth. Okay, that's the latitude and the longitude. And the reason why we choose larger islands is that this is before the bleaching. Okay, the reefs are very healthy, very beautiful, and lots of life and diversity, hidden in this paradise of reef. Okay, and there are plenty of diversity on the coral species. Okay, and the reason we chose that because we actually have a globe meeting in Phuket on 2006, right after the 2004 tsunami. Okay, so we can, kind of bid for the globe program in the US to help us create the first, workshop outside US in Phuket. And at that time, we have people from NOAA that come along as well, and he comment that to use the NOAA product like this one, sea surface temperature, to monitor the coral reef, you have to have the area that is quite a little bit off the island, off the land, and then it has to be like in the middle of the ocean, and that's not so difficult to go to. Okay, so from the Google, we check at the suitable island is actually Rachayai. And let me check this one too. Let me go to the Google Earth. Okay. Okay, I'm going to zoom into the Rachaya Island. And we can overlay the NOAA product. Okay, so he suggests that all these areas are not suitable. Okay, so we have to have a kind of island, and this is the target one that we can, actually use. And let me turn off this NOAA product. And is it the Rachaya Island? Okay, so we have we have the first trip to the island, and later on we start installing the hobo. Okay, before we actually get the color sensor network to install. Okay, we go back to the slide. So with NOAA technology, you can actually get the sea surface temperature data right now, okay, at anywhere that you want to go and check. Okay, so this the link is easy to find on the internet, and I actually put the link here, coralreefwatch.noaa.gov. So if you're interested to go and see it, that would be. And I think this one is for 12th June. You can see all the red and the so dark red area to get the coral reef watch alert. Okay. And I don't think we have to concern about that yet in our area. But in some other area like this one and this one are really alarming. Okay. And in the past, we have breaching event at Rachaya Island as well. And the large scale breaching was actually starting in 2010, 2009, 2010. And we have the hobo locker. The temperature actually rise up to like 33 Celsius. Okay. And then the coral there start breaching like the one here, and is spreading. Okay, it's spreading. So this is a little fun, a little break for now. I actually use ChatGPT to get the AI to check the timeline. Have you used ChatGPT before? Zaity?
We already use.
Yeah,
It's
have you
very
used
famous.
it? Have you used it with Coral Reef?
No, not
I think
really.
it's fun. Yeah, it's fun to try. So I asked ChatGPT for the timeline of the coral bleaching event Thailand, and the funny thing is, it gives me hypothetical coral reef bleaching event. I don't know. Somehow people use ChatGPT to generate maybe the stories, or something fantasy too much. So they defaultly get me the hypothetical situation instead of the real one. So this is all in the future. Okay, so somehow ChatGPT can predict the breaching event in the future, but I don't know if I can believe it. So I go to Bard, another AI of the Google, and ask the same question: timeline coral bleaching event Thailand. It seemed to give me the proper answer. Okay, so the bleaching event is actually started in 2010, the second hottest year on record, okay, with sea temperature rising to record levels. Okay, and to me, this is sound much better than the one from ChatGPT. Okay, and however, what we found is not quite the same as what Bart actually reported. Although that the most in most cases, Bart seemed to get it right. Okay, that since the start of the mass bleaching in 2010, most coral reef are not recovering. Okay, they die. Okay, and then the 3D structure of the coral collapse. When you have a big storm hit the coral reef that are not alive, they're very fragile, so they collapse very quickly. Okay, and most area in Nigeria Island now still not recover. You when you go there and dive, you will just see the remnant of the destruction. You see pieces of coral that covered by algae. So this is one of the sad phase transition from coral reef into dead zone that like desert in on land. Okay, so there's no life. They just die and become a graveyard of the past. Beautiful coral reef. Okay, and most of them still not recover. That's why I'm saying if you have a coral rehabilitation or restoration or replanting, I think you should do, and you should try to help. Otherwise, you're gonna lose that forever. Okay, and they also analyze the factors that contribute to coral bleaching even in Thailand, right? For example, rising sea temperature, pollution, overfishing, something like that. Okay. Okay, so now I'm having fun again. Take another ChatGPT, but this time I tell them to check it in the past. Okay, now it seems to give me a more appropriate, responses. Like in 1998, okay, they have widespread bleaching. And 2010, you have Southern Thailand bleaching. And then 2016, another one. And on the recent one is on 2020. And this is on Koh Lipe bleaching. Koh Lipe is very popular island in Stoon. Okay, I just went there recently, and the coral there are very, very pretty. But they are not hard coral; they are mostly soft coral, so they're very colorful, and they are different from they're not they do not have the bleaching similar to the stony or the hard coral reef problem. Okay. Okay, so if you ask the right question, I think ChatGPT seems to give you a more appropriate answer, but you still need to check because now the two sources give different information. ChatGPT give me 1998, okay, while the bot give me another number. Okay, so maybe you can try for Malaysia and see what it gives you, okay? Okay, so when we have already pilot the project with the CTD donated to us by AIMS Australian Coral Reef program, so we can actually write a proposal to get ourselves the CTD, and this time because it's being supported by many people because we already shown that we can install the prototype already. So now we have more budget. So on the east side, we install not just one CTD, we actually install 4 of them at different depth. You can see that where we're going now, right? So we can actually use this to verify the NOAA satellite data. Okay, so we have these 4 installed at different depth on both sides. I think the image is quite wrong. This one should up here. Sorry, this one is right here. And this one, okay, is right here, correct. Because Patok Island, Patok Bay is here. So my team actually get this one wrong, okay? The location right here. And the reason why we put the sensor here, because Ajahn Nipon at Phuket Marine Center at that time, he told us that there are coral reefs that survive the bleaching, and he doesn't know why. He didn't know why, so he want us to actually try to answer. So we put another one here. Remember, each one cost 500,000 baht. If you have 4, that means you have 2 million baht put into the water and risk them to be lost, So, but anyway, we did that, right? Another one here, that's 4 million baht already for the CTD, not including all the system on the side, okay? And at that time, the island get the internet from the microwave technology. So they have a station in the middle of the island and send all the data to Phuket and then up to our server. Okay, so it's quite challenging at that time. Okay, internet is not available everywhere. But for now, it's different story. You can actually use cheaper technology to get your coral sensor network to report data. Okay. So this is some of the picture of me installing this, these different flow sensor near the coral reef. Okay. The first one is at 16 meter, and then we move up to 12 meter. We also have to tag using cable tie with the label so that it being left by all the tourists, not to touch them or to keep them away. And if you look closely, there will be cable that link the data using the wave, not using the electric current. Okay, so the CTD actually send out radio wave. Okay, not the electrical current. So it's not be able to short circuit anywhere at all, because this is just iron cable that used to transmit the wave. Okay, and another last one is at 4 meters, so it's quite shallow. Okay, so after 16 meters, you just see all the sand floor. Okay, so actually diversity of the coral reef are not that far further out in the ocean. So most ocean, I think mostly they are sand. They are not coral reef. Okay, so coral reef is like oasis in all the desert of the sea. Okay, and in our case, sometimes we got our CTD sensor drag around by tourist boat, and because we use the very strong cable, so they're not they're not going away. They are still around. 500,000 baht, they're still around on the floor of the beach. So when we go there to do the maintenance of the site, we have to go and find them, and then they're being dragged around, so we have to move them back and put it on the pole again. Okay, and we not lost it. Okay, so we didn't lose any of a CTD during the project at all. Okay, it's very lucky. And combine the data with the image from the EcoCam, we can produce a report like this. You can see that there are picture of the coral reef. Okay, this one actually been breached, and then the structure start to collapse. At this time of the picture, it's still like high enough, like 3-dimensional. But I think now they are collapsed to the floor already. Okay, it's not getting better. Okay, and this the data can also presented as a time series. Okay, and like console of the monitoring system. And remember, this is I think 2000 something. Let me check. 2013. Okay. So this is like a project for long-term monitoring, and it's finished already. So it's not no longer, you cannot go to the website and find it anymore. Okay, this is like the prototype, and we still don't haven't got time around to get it, to go again. Okay, next slide. Oop. Okay. At that time, 2012, we start using the remote sensing technology, but it's not quite remote. It's actually, we have diver, and then we scan using underwater camera. You get me what I'm doing? Okay, so we scan because one camera cannot capture the whole reef, so we scan them using many photo, and using the technology that stitch all these, image, so we can have a large scale monitoring of the whole. This is the whole reef. Okay, it's quite large enough. Okay, and then as I already told you, after the bleaching, the structure is still there, and then the next event, when the storm comes, it's starting collapse and collapse and collapse, and eventually it's all just a graveyard of the coral reef. Okay, like this one. And when doing this, we actually have the 3D model of the reef. Actually, I haven't got time around to show you. We can actually spin it to look the three-dimensional of the reef. Maybe this is the first time that we actually use this 3D, technology to actually monitor the whole structure of the reef. Okay, so we can do that. And now from this image, we don't have to have a diver to do the light transect. Usually when you do the biological parameter, you have to get a diver to do the diving on a transect. Okay, now you can do this on the image because the image is large and it's quite detailed, so you can actually do the virtual diving on the image, and you can zoom in to see whether it's rubble, whether it's coral reef, whether it's algae from the image because it's so high resolution. Okay, so this I think is one of the first time that we apply this technique, the technology, do the virtual diving. Okay, and then the team at the University of Hawaii, they're so interested in this, and they actually take this further to make a VR, VR of the. So you have multiple screen. We call Sage. Okay, like many TV monitor to put around yourself instead of using the now Apple have the Vision Pro, that kind of VR camera. Okay, but in the University of Hawaii, they actually have monitor make around us, and then you can have a tool to move around like a virtual dive into the ocean. Okay, we start to think about this, but then eventually, I don't think we have enough budget to cover, the technology, so we drop it. But we can come back to do it any time that we actually have because we have all the technology. So these are the metric substrate categories before and after the storm. Of course, you can see that from image is getting very, very sad story. Okay, and these are the training that we did with the University of California. They came to Rajaya Island, and they help us setting the fish species diversity study, and also the using the the conventional transit equipment, right? The camera and the frame, okay, and you have to do the line transect. Okay, so you take all the photo and you do the study. But as I told you, if you have the map, the 3D map or the high resolution map of the reef, you can do that virtually. You don't have to go diving like this because it's risky, it takes time, and diver have to do all these tedious record of the rebels of these. Instead of they can actually just look at the image that we capture by using. And we actually work with War, another side agency in Thailand. They actually have built us a robot kayak with the underwater camera and scan. I think if I have time, I can show you the image of the robot. But the problem at that time was the kayak that he actually used in this study. He actually have just one propeller, and it cannot accommodate the wave of the ocean. So images are so difficult to connect together. So it's not, it's like a test of the prototype. Didn't quite work. The new version will have to be, I think it should have to be like 4 propeller, maybe more like drone. And right now, underwater drone also available. We haven't actually got the time around to try it yet, but I think that's very promising. Okay, so instead of doing the kayak, which you have effect of the boat moving around, you actually go in the water like a diver, normal diver, but you can control it using your remote. But of course, underwater though, we have cable. Okay, you cannot connect to remote drone using EM wave in seawater because it's gonna disperse all the signal. Okay, so the technology has to have cable. But I think it's very promising to try. Okay, so these are some of the results of the study of the diversity of both sides of the island. And we get many papers published from this study. Okay, I'm gonna skip through this. We have 4 PhD finished on this and some national conference. Let me skip through this. I got this slide from Ajahn Marika, so she put all the outcome. Okay, now I would like to talk about the discovery that we found in the past years that we're doing all this study. Okay, the first one is the seasonal sea surface temperature. If we have enough data, we can do some histogram analysis of the size, something like this. Okay, so the top one is the Khon Bay on the south, and the lower one is from the west, the Patok Bay. The Patok Bay is the one that has coral reef that survive the coral bleaching. And you can see that the Patok Bay actually have much lower temperature. It actually can reach 28 Celsius. Okay, so when I do the diving, when it reach this temperature level, I feel chill. It's like there's some subtly cold wave of cold water. I think it's more dense as well because it's, I think, more salty, moving in from deeper ocean. Okay, and that thing is not present in Khon Bay on the south side. And this is the reason why this coral reef survive the coral bleaching. So this let us think in the future if we want to try technology that help warm up coral reef, we may have to build a fin, some kind of fin that can channel cold water into the reef, and that would make the cool down effect on the reef. Okay, that's the kind of thing that can follow up from our discovery. But okay, we think about that. We put it back because so far we haven't found any bleaching event in the Russia Island at all so far. If we have found them, we can try, some of this technology, this technique to help the reef from bleaching. And for when you have a long-term data, you can start seeing peaks in the histogram of this. This is the kind of histogram of the temperature data on both sides. Okay, you cannot have this information at all if you don't have permanent sensor at that side, at two sides, at the two sides. Okay, and from Concare, you can see that there are 3 peaks. Okay, or maybe 4. This one is small one, and this might be caused by the warm water getting into the area to the reef. Okay, these 2 may be the normal seasonal temperature of the reef. The one here might present the summer, and this might present the general time of the area. But of course, there are some, thermocline wave as well at the island, but it's not as cool, as the one in Pratok Bay. Okay, this is one of example that we discover from the project. Okay, and also there are reefs that survive bleaching, not just the Pratok Bay. There's another one actually on Siam Bay. Siam Bay is the north bay of the island. I think I have a video showing you this. Let me find it. Yeah, okay. I'm not so sure I can share this video, but I can put you the link to this video. Okay, I put the link in the chat box. It's in YouTube. If you have time, you can go and have a look. Even though most coral reefs are bleached, this one is not, and is very beautiful and large area as well in the Siam Bay in the north. And we can assume that because of the area is actually have cooler, wave from the thermocline, and that cool this thing so that they're not bleached during the bleaching events. Let me show you the image. But I'm not sure you can hear the voice, but it's not important anyway. So you just see the. Okay, can you see the video now, right? Five to 10 minutes to actually dive through all these reef patches. It's quite, large, survive the bleaching area. I think another one is here. If you have any question, you can start typing into the chat box, or some people are going for lunch maybe. Okay, this one is, I think it's longer. And you can see that if you have a very healthy reef, there are houses of 1,000 fishes. Okay. I want to emphasize here, you can see holes like this actually caused by anchor of the fishing boat, small fishing boat. This is very bad, so this is one of the effect on the, this hole as well. And you can see some of the reef are actually dying because of the, of the anchor. Okay, let me go back to the slide. So the question is that why all these coral reefs survive. We have answered some of these questions, and there are also another case of the survived coral reef. Actually, they are on the Gulf of Thailand. Actually, most area in the Gulf of Thailand, they're not bleached at all. This is quite surprisingly that we found, and even though the sea surface temperature when they dive there is actually warmer than the Andaman Sea. And the reason for that is actually answer here. If you check this website, where did I put it? Oh, somehow it's disappeared. Sorry. They said that okay, it's here. Okay, it's the bleaching biology. So they actually another factor which is called light. Okay, so most coral reef on the Gulf of Thailand, they are actually in the murky water. Okay, so the light to go through all this murky is not that strong, when the temperature is high. Okay, so the reason for bleaching is actually over activity or over photosynthesis activity process in the Susan Tally. Okay, so somehow the murky water actually help blocking some of the UV light from the sun. Okay, and that's another reason. Okay, and that's the time series of the sea surface temperature data. Now we actually correlated these measure data with the data from the satellite from NOAA sea surface temperature data. Okay, so that you see the black lines are the same for all four. But as you can see that for higher or deeper water, you can start seeing discrepancy from the NOAA to to the actual measure data. And then we do this correlation study. Okay, so these are the graph that we found. So basically, you only get good correlation from NOAA to actually what coral reef failed or feel. Only about 8 meters. Okay, so for coral reef that actually in deeper water, somehow the NOAA data is not accurate to predict, the bleaching event. Okay, so this is what the result that we found from, from our CTD sensor data. Okay, and okay, so when you use the NOAA data, you have to be aware of that, and because it's not possible to NOAA to know anyway for the satellite to know if this is too high and if there is any wave of the thermocline moving into the reef. They cannot know from the satellite, so you need to have the so you have to have maybe somehow actual measuring on that at that reef. Okay, there are some questions here. Okay, how can the general public from Pornpimon Are you Thai name? Is Thai name, right? พรพิมล
คนไทยค่ะ
อ๋อครับ อยู่ที่ไหนครับนี่
อยู่มาเลแต่พูดไทยได้
อ๋อครับผม Okay. How can the general public or local communities access the utilize remote sensing data for their own coral reef conservation effort? Okay. I think Noah you can access. I have give you the URL to access the data. นะครับของ Noah I have give you the is coral reef watch. Okay, at noah.org, right? So .org, you can actually get that. But as I said here, that the accuracy is only from our evidence is only good for less than 8 meter. If your coral reef is less than 8 meter, you should be able to use the data from NOAA. For coral reef that have, the effect from the cooler water, flowing in, then you might have to have your own local measure, and you can use many technology that I can share you maybe later. But the idea now is actually local community can access that through the internet. Okay, that's the key point of all these coral sensor network trying to do, to show you that it's possible to find a solution to measure the temperature at the coral reef and access them through the internet. And now we can call it IoT, right? So this is the same concept that we've been trying to do for the CTD coral sensor network. Okay, did I answer your question, คุณพรพิมล คุณพรพิมล did I answer your question? Okay, maybe she's going for lunch. Okay. Are there any ongoing project or initiative that utilize remote sensing for long-term monitoring and conservation of coral reef? Right now, I don't think. I think the national park might have data on that, but I think the most extensive and longest term of data is actually with us at the Center of Excellence for Ecoinformatics. But the project stopped a few years ago already because of the funding. Okay. Based on the parameter used in coral reef monitoring, how can we assess the level of health for the coral reef? Okay. Right now we have to use many techniques. For example, the remote sensing data, you can use the one from NOAA, right? And then you have to have some like people to dive, and then you can use like what we did, use many photo of the reef, okay, and there's now technology to connect these together, and then you can keep them, from time to time. Then you can monitor using any software virtual dive on those data. I can call this also remote sense data. Okay. And the last one, what are the current challenges? Okay, I think for me, I think the most challenges that we have to do is we don't have information on this cooling effect from the thermocline, and I think that depends on the ocean circulation. Okay, we have global ocean circulation model, and that being questioned and being worried about, because if the global circulation is changed, I think the thermocline that supply the cooling effect to the coral reef will change as well. And I think that the current challenge is that if we can do this monitor with enough grid on keeping this data, we can probably see the movement of the of this ocean circulation, right? And that the concept. Okay, let me back to finish my slide here. Okay, psychic because we have depth data, and there was an earthquake on 2012, and our CTD actually can pick up that tsunami. And there are news channel actually call us. This is kind of fun. They actually call us to check if there is any tsunami from our data or not, and we actually can find them. Okay, and for this depth data on the top, you can see this is the raw data. You can see loops of oscillation. This is called tide, right? So the water actually up and down each day, and then they have neap tide where there is less movement of the water, and then there's maximum tide that happen from time to time. And normally the national tide station, they don't actually have them all in the ocean. They have to use some kind of model to calculate the prediction of this tide, and make it the annual report, something like that. But this is the real time. Okay, this is the real time data from the CTD, from our coronal system network. And then after we remove the tide, okay, with some metric calculation or advanced, this is a little bit of physics. Okay, to remove all this tide, then you can start see all these noises. It can be caused by large boats or large ship moving in the wind. Okay, and the one that we interested in this the outlier peak. Okay, and when we zoom it in, okay, we actually find two peaks corresponding to our CTD data, and the first one actually 2 hours after the first earthquake that happened in the Sumatra area. And the second one, actually another one, aftershock. We can see them actually present in our data already. So the news actually call us that if there are any tsunamis going into the island, to Phuket Island, we say no. We have already seen 2 of them, and they're only 10 centimeter high. Okay, so it's not a big tsunami, it's quite small in this case. Comparing to the 2004 is 10 meter, is different. Okay, so it's a psychic for our coral reef network monitoring. We can actually monitor the tsunami as well, and we can actually, and the warning time, if you want to use this as a warning time, this island is actually half an hour from Phuket Island. Okay, so you have like half an hour alarming if you want to use it as an alarm system. But this one is used for the after effect, like people still scared, people still bit they cannot go to the area, or they can go. Then we can use the CTD data to tell them that it's already coming, the tsunami, and it's only 10 centimeter. Okay, so don't worry about these 2 earthquakes. Okay, and after that, we don't have this event to test our system yet. So this is the best case scenario that we have used it. Okay, and somehow we found that it's blocked by the turbid water, the breaching, and in the breaching biology, there are 2 factors. You can actually go to the website and check. It's called Reef Resilient Network. Okay, that publish some of the basic of the breaching. This is actually summarized from a research article. Okay, I have seen that one. So okay, so I want to finish my talk with the reef restoration activity that we use. We actually use the concept of ecosystem philosophy or concept. Okay, so when we do restoration at our center, we don't actually do just the coral. Okay, we want to restore the whole food chain, the whole ecosystem. So we put also the giant crab. These are the giant crab that we put into our reef restoration project. This one is donated by some official department. Okay, when we install, it's very small. It's quite about this size only. Okay, and right now when we go back, it's huge. It's already like a suitcase. Okay, it's quite huge, and this is one of the things that we actually do. And people said that this giant crab cannot survive in this reef because it's very shallow reef. It's only 1 and 2 or 3 meter height, from the three floors, so it's quite shallow. But when I checked the reef around Samui Island, we got some funding to check the reef. We found that there are some of the giant crab actually present right now, and it's quite the same size as we found. So it is survivable in this reef. Okay, so we put them. Okay, and we check. So it's going quite large already, and we found some of the I think it's octopus, okay, or squid that actually come into the reef and live in to make, when the reef is healthy, it should be more diverse. Okay, and it's funny thing is when we do the CTD kind of installation, we noticed that we found the material for coral reef to settle down. Okay, in the past you actually use cement. Okay, I'm not so sure that Santi, you used cement block like this at Langkawi.
No, in Langkawi we use the artificial. We make artificial habitat. We use tire. Use tire and pipe from PVC pipe, I think.
Okay.
Something.
Mhm.
And
Okay.
then and then we monitor that by doing some diving also, and then but we don't have the sensor just like you. And apart from Langkawi, we also have in Terengganu. Have you been to Terengganu, Bidong Island? So
No. I would love to. Okay.
At Bidong Island, we also have a research center on marine, especially for marine. And then we also have a university there, University Malaysia Terengganu. And then one course of one course have a study about the coral reef, and then we doing the monitoring using line transit. We do some if you don't have the diving license, and then we go to snorkeling using line transit, or else we can go diving also using the line transit. But as far as I am concerned and as far as I know, we don't have the sensor that just like yours.
Okay.
To monitor the coral, sorry.
Right. Okay. Okay. Right. And okay, so you use tire and PVC pipe. Okay. It's actually good that you use PVC pipe. Okay, this is what we found also our discovery. Mostly people use cement like this, and they're not working. Okay, because cement actually leaks some chemical into the ocean as well, into the sea water too. So I don't recommend, and people still use them. I don't know, because maybe it's easier to find. Some people use, like iron. Okay, like steel frame. Okay, and that also bad for the sea water chemical too, because it will erode, right, because of the metal will leak into the sea water. And right now there are people using advanced technology like 3D printing. You can see this one. They actually print out the reef structure, and they hope they can the coral egg will settle down, the coral baby will settle down on that. I don't think this is gonna work. Okay, so they actually used solar cell to power, to monopolize the iron frame, so it attract more calcium, iron into the coral. Okay, hopefully, but but it's not like this one. Okay, for example, this one, it take a year to grow from here to here, right? This
Yeah.
is fast already, but what we found is faster. Okay, this is the same example because we found when you do the CTD study, we use the cable tie. You know cable tie, right?
Yeah.
It's coming like black color, something like that. So we use that to wrap our CTD to the pole. And surprisingly, we found that coral actually settled down on the cable tie. Okay, and you can see from this one, you can see the cable tie, right? That is already covered by the coral. We actually tie smaller one, like, and then I think this one only a month or 2 months it already covered the cable tie. So somehow they like the cable tie, and we try to find out the reason. This is another one. Okay, we put a very small one with the cable tie, and then it's cover all the cable tie, so the coral can grow on that. So when we look at the 3D, the microstructure of this cable tie or the PVC pipe, they actually resemble what we call the coral-like algae. Coral-like algae is most forgotten in coral reef restoration. They're actually like a cement that put the reef together. Okay, and once you put the cement in the seawater for quite a while, this coral-like algae will cover the cement, and then coral can grow on that another layer.
Okay.
Okay, so the idea that PVC pipe that had the microstructure like this coral-like algae, so it can grow on that very quickly. So I think you pick the right material for that. You can see from the PVC that there's, coral can grow on the pipe easily. Okay, like this one, it almost cover, the cable tie. Okay.
I agree with you, but maybe some after we use the tire, or maybe some of the chemical leach from the tire, maybe some get a new problem from that.
Yeah, I think the tire, I think tire might not be suitable. The tire may leak some chemical, but PVC pipe I think is okay because it's similar to natural, coral-like algae. And it's not leaking anything. It's fiber. It's fibrous, substance, I think. So if you can somehow apply those into your study, I think that would be very beneficial for, if you have 3D print using the PVC, that would be easier for the, to the small coral to settle down and grow up on, on that. Okay, so that's what we found. Another, I will to end my talk with this drone image of the reef. Okay, and let me share this one. Okay, here. I have shown you before the underwater mapping of the reef, right? And that using the human to do the photography. And we try the underwater automation robot kayak, and didn't go quite well. But we have some image from those study, which is larger area than human, to dive. And another one that if you have a shallow reef like this one, okay, that I show you, you can actually use drone to mapping the whole reef. Okay, and because you can have high resolution, image, you can actually can zoom in. Okay, and it's have a detail such that you can actually see the coral reef. You see this green one? This is one of the example of the coral reef that you can actually see from drone. Okay, and also this mouth of the giant crab. Okay, so you can actually count how many of them.
It's very high resolution image.
Yes, yes. And we hope to do this again, but as you can see, the some area is not very clear because of the wave. You still have some interference from wave, and you have to wait until you get very low tide to do this mapping. But it's possible, and it's very high resolution. You can see all these giant clam mouth and all these macroalgae. This is all the macroalgae that I'm talking about. That's starting to invade this reef. See that? All these patches. This is
Yeah.
very bad.
Yeah, I can see.
Yeah. You can see all these, in detail. These are the invasive, macroalgae. So with this kind of map, you can, the hotel want this kind of map. They can actually show, the tourists where they can do the dive and then, the snorkeling and to find the coral like this, beautiful coral or the giant clam, all these are coral. Okay. And these are the invasive algae. Okay. I'm going to end this talk with this image. Okay. And then let me find you the robot kayak. Okay. Now, if you have any question, I think there's still time, right?
Yeah, there's still time. There is just one question in the chat box. Is there any specific technology that has been developed that can detect the coral bleaching process in real time? As the bleaching process occurs, the sensor already detect.
I think to answer the question, it depends on how you define real time. Okay, because in NOAA satellite remote sensing, what it tell you is the index of the stress, of the stress that coral have because of the high temperature. Most coral reef are actually resilient to high temperature, but for certain period of time, you understand what I mean? You cannot set the threshold like 35, then it can breach. No, it's not like that. It has to be like 35 for 7 days, for example. Then it starts to breach. So it's difficult to define what you mean by real time. But the NOAA product actually gives you the real time data, the now time data of the previous accumulation of heat stress that the coral have in the past, I think, many days. And I think you can use that as a guideline, okay, for the first guideline to detecting the the bleaching. But as I said, for coral reef that deeper than 8 meter, you might have the effect from the, or from the thermocline wave, from the cooling effect. So you might have to have somebody measuring that compared to the satellites, and then you can establish the baseline or baseline correlation from your NOAA data to from that coral reef. But as I said, for deeper coral, it's harder because you have underwater movement that you don't know. And did I answer your question? So in summary, it's difficult to define real time breaching, okay, because it depends on your reef. If your reef are very resilient, it might be able to take the heat, longer than other reef. Other reef may already bleach, but your reef are still okay. As I show you example, because they have some cooling effect. Okay, or maybe they have adapted to higher temperature. They are trying. They keep trying the coral reef. I think the coral they try to adapt to higher temperature, but depend on the helper. If you have cooling effect, you have wave. If your ocean have strong wave that will circulate the temperature around, right? Then your reef might be less, to the NOAA index, less less active related to to the coral stress index. But right now you can get the data from NOAA. Okay.
So thank you, Prof. Chris. I hope that will answer all of your questions. So maybe we have a little more time. So maybe one question. If you have any question, just one question there. Don't have question? So I think it is very interesting. And sorry. There is one more question. Given the limitation of passive remote sensing in cloudy or turbid coastal area, what alternative approach or sensor technology are being explored to improve the monitoring of coral reefs in such challenging environment? So,
I think you can start thinking about using IoT, because if that area can be reached by internet, so you can have the cheaper. There are devices, sensor that cheap for IoT to detect the temperature. I use some of these already. It's called thermistor, but it's water resistant. So you can use that maybe 5-10 meter with a long cable, and you can dip it into the ocean and have the small IoT device, because IoT can be very small and can be very power efficient. You can have small solar panel, okay, and you can do that, with very minimal cost. You don't have to buy a CTD. CTD is very very expensive. It's actually meant for how to say the oil company. Okay, it's actually meant to be used by the oil company to find the source, and they have to use this CTD. It can withstand the depth of 400 meters. It's so too much, actually too much. But we use that one because the technology is started by AIMS in Australia, and they have thousands of these. You see how much the government actually put effort in preserving their reef. They spend a lot of money to aim to monitoring their health, but our government, they don't have that much money. I think they have money for other things. I don't know. But right now we have the solution for IoT, so you can try to think about that, and then you can start building your own. And when you say remote sensing, it's not remote in the sense that you have photo or you have device to take the photo, but it actually sends your data remotely from anywhere on the coral reef area. I think in Thailand, most coral reef area have internet access. I'm so sure about that, because it's very, in the like Stone, right? It's very far, like Lipe Island. They have internet. Everywhere it has 4G, I think. So I think it's possible to have low cost, remote sensor install, and then send back the data to somewhere you can have the monitoring now. Okay.
okay, so thank you, Prof. That I think that everywhere in Thailand have a very quite powerful internet. Yeah, I agree with that.
I think we welcome tourists. Tourists want to use internet for their
Yeah.
Facebook, for their
Yeah.
TikTok. So we have provided, and the benefit, the side benefit from that is you can use it to monitor our environment.
Yeah, that's true. So it is very, very interesting and give a fresh perspective on the topic on the coral reef, and indeed a lot of knowledge and expertise in sharing. Thank you again, Prof. Chris.
Okay, you are
So
welcome.
So maybe again, from my opinion, is coral reefs is among the most diverse and productive ecosystem. So in order to protect and to restore the coral reef, we need to do something to monitor or using a very, very good technology in order to restore, monitor, protect, and uh, and uh, for future. And then I think I should wrap up the session. So
Okay.
on behalf of FKTA, Faculty of Civil Engineering and Technology, I would like to share that it was a very wonderful sharing session and a lot of knowledge transfer. And I would like to conclude that the advancement in field verification and coral sensor network and IoT application have helped researchers to obtain real-time data. So thank you again, Prof. I am honored and I'm really grateful you have accepted my invitation, even though in very, very short time. So today the day that you share a lot of knowledge. So again, on behalf of our faculty, I would like to express gratitude for your participation, availability, and willingness to support our monthly international webinar. So I would like also thanks all the participants that came and spent the time, and wish all of you gain a fruitful session and knowledge. So thank you all, and thank you, Prof. And I bid everyone thanks and bye bye.
Okay, bye bye. Thank you very much for attending.
Thank you,
Thank
Prof.
you all.
Thank you.
Thank you, Prof.
Thank
Thank
you.
you, Madam.
Thank you.
Thank you, Prof. Thank you, Madam.
Thank you.